and myself are here, and thanks for joining our budget presentation this afternoon. We have, Eric, about 72 people on right now.
Is that about the number we were expecting?
I have 100 registered, so I would imagine we'll have everyone on. Okay. All right, so Eric, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Yeah, I'll get us started. Thanks, Michael. All right, I think we're going to have people jump on over the course of the next few minutes. Sounds like we're still waiting on a few people. We're going to get started. I believe we've got 1 hour blocked out for this, and we're normally pretty good about sticking to that time, so you can count on that today as well. A couple of things before we get started. This is, what you're going to go through today is slightly different than what we've gone through before. It is more a compilation of a lot of the other data you're working on already. The forecast file, the starcast, the assumption tab, the VC pricing workbook. There's a lot of pieces that you're already working on that are going to come into this one format. We're sharing it with you because some of the work will need to be done in this file, and we'll move it over to the forecast file. Michael's going to go through what those areas are. So we're only going to have you do the information one time, and then we're going to move it where it needs to go. This compilation is really a direct result of a lot of feedback we've gotten over the last couple of weeks from some of our owners and investors, both within TPG as well as external. There's been a lot of interest in how we're presenting the data to make the process flow and hopefully be a little bit more seamless. So this file you're going to go through today, I think it's got about 8 or 9 tabs. It's got a really cool cover sheet that I think you're looking at now. And it's pretty comprehensive. And the due date on this, Michael's going to go through this. And it's, as with this entire process, these are short due dates. And I was talking at the conference, and I was pretty upfront with people that we were intentionally this year trying to reduce the amount of time spent on preparation. Frankly, we found that the vast majority of the portfolio started it much closer to the due date, but we also found that this, having a longer time frame, actually created more revisions, and that's what we're trying to limit, is more revisions. And so we are going to change the time frame just a little bit. This file is different than the business plan that is being submitted, but some of this information will flow into the business plan. So Michael and Kimberly are going to go over the file, the value of the file, how you read the file, what it's for, and then also relay the due dates. Please, through the webinar, if you've got any questions, just get them asked, get them in queue, and we'll make sure we've got a few minutes at the very end to cover those. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Brown.
Okay, thanks, Eric. All right, guys, so this is basically a subset of what is going to be the strategic plan that we rolled out in the brand trainings that we did over the course of the last 6-8 weeks. So this is more of the final version of it. It is not the entire strategic plan, but this will roll into the strategic plan. So as Eric mentioned, we won't be having you do multiple pieces of work. So as we look at this cover page here, there's a couple of things. When we send this version out to you, and it will go out this evening, there will not be this navigator button. That will be, however, in the actual strategic plan itself when we finish that. There are 3 buttons that you're going to see right over here, which are going to import data. One is going to import from your 2015 forecast file, and where you're going to go through all the data that it's going to import from that as we walk through each of these 8 sheets. It's going to import your star trend data. That you will need to do separately. One of the changes, and you'll see that as we go through here, is we've backed up the starcast and all the star data back to 2007. So this is very important. There are going to be 2 star trend data files posted on the source. One is going to be for your forecast file, your 2000 revenue forecast file. The other file is going to be for this particular, what we are calling a budget packet. and they will be labeled as such. The budget packet, Star Trend, has all the STAR data going back to 2007 to import into this file. So going to need to keep those, understand that those are separate files for separate imports. We will at some point later on this year upgrade the 2015 forecast file to include all these StarCast data going back to 2007, but that is not going to happen right away. The last button is the Import Your STAR report. Really the only thing this does is that this imports your STAR comp set from your STAR report. Doesn't import any data other than the names of your competitive set, their opening date, and how many rooms they have. You're only going to need to do this one time. As we get through that, once you've done it once and then you have your current competitive set in there that matches your STAR trend data, you're done with it. You don't have to import it again. A couple other things this will also tell us here. The last time your last year data was updated. So again, we'll be looking at your 2014. As we import your 2015 forecast file, as you'll recall, we have a mechanism in there to show us the last date that your 2014 data was imported into that file and updated, and that's what it's pulling from. The other thing that is here is the data last updated. That is the last time that you will have updated and saved imported data into this file. So there's a couple things there. Okay, we're going over to the first tab in this, which is the Business Outlook and Strategy. This looks very similar. This is a revision of what we did in previous years with the opening page of the Marketing or Strategic Plan. And we took that one big text box and we've broken it up into 5 pieces. 3 of which are going to import from your 2015 forecast file if you've done work in that. And the other 2 are new. So the first box that you'll see here is a PKF Market Outlook box. And this is where you take the data out of a PKF report once we get those and import some text and commentary straight into this box. And quite frankly, you can probably copy and paste or do a paste special values of the PKF data because I believe it should be able to copy and paste some text into that for this. Now we only get PKF data for about 12 different markets. So if you're in one of those 12 markets, you will get those reports sent to you. I believe we expect to get those this week for the Q3 2014 Outlook. If you're not one of those 12 hotels, then you're going to do this. You're going to go over here. You're going to see this little minus sign. You're going to click it, and that PKF box is going to go away. So if you're not a hotel that's getting PKF data, just click that minus sign and make that box go away because we don't want to show that. Next section here is your overall market assumptions, including supply-demand impact. That is going to import directly from your 2014 StarCast data in your revenue forecast file. So if you're working in the revenue forecast file, writing your overall market assumptions in the forecast file, those will import when you import this data. Second section box down is business development. Kimberly, you want to talk a little bit about what we're looking for there?
Yeah, I'm glad to. We historically have spent a lot of time talking about new supply and the effect that that will have on our budget, and we don't give enough credit to demand generators that are entering the market or any new business development. So as Michael mentioned, that's why we broke it out as a separate box to kind of guide you into what we're looking for. Business development would be anything that is coming into the market, new hospitals, new schools, new companies that are relocating, airport expansions, anything that is development into the city, even if it doesn't produced room nights in 2015, we still want to hear about it. So, possibly there's a new hospital starting to be built right now, or starting to be built in 2015, not even scheduled to open until 16 or 17. That still belongs in here. So with any development in your market, probably the best place is to be going to your city council, chamber of commerce, and getting it. They usually have a really nice packet of information for people looking to come into the market. So instead of recreating the wheel, I would go that route, go get what they have, and then summarize it. Again, with any of these text boxes, it has to fit in this text box because the reader is most likely going to print this out. So don't go long-winded and don't go more than this text box, but please talk about any new development.
Okay. The last two boxes on here, the competitive set assumptions and, again, the hotel performance assumptions, again, come from your 2015 revenue forecast file. Those are going to import over. So whatever you're writing there, or I've been working on, is going to import straight on over. So, but same things that, again, that we talked about. Make sure in the conferences and the brand trainings, make sure the data fits in the text box, and B, don't reference numbers that are likely to change. So that is it for this file. The annual performance trends is here. This is just a recap of your budget. Again, all this data is going to pull straight from your forecast file import, so budget last year and 2 years ago, with variances and graphs. And then your occupancy, ADR, RevPAR performance trends, index performance trends, again, all importing from the STAR trend data. So no need for you to write any commentary, but again, this is the kind of overview data that people are going to be able to look at and see as we do this file and review this. And this is going to be the file that we're going to be reviewing to validate your budget, both the regional team, the BP team, and above. Okay. Third section here in the third tab is a month-by-month piece. The data is going to import straight out of the forecast file. We do have charts and graphs with, again, going back to 2007 data and trends. Nothing really new here. We do ask you to do your commentary for both food and beverage and for the room section up here. One important thing that I want to point out to this, and we'll talk about this as we're doing your budget. One, this does not, I repeat, does not import from your revenue forecast file. So when you're doing your assumptions for 2015 right now, and you're working on your budget, please do not, again, do not do your assumptions on a month-by-month basis in the forecast file in the assumption tab. I realize this is different than what we probably communicated to you before, but that data, I can't import that into this file. So please write your assumptions here in this document for rooms, food and beverage, catering, and if there's a significant piece of other revenue change, then please write it here as well.
Michael, I know that there are some hotels who have already done the assumptions in the revenue forecast file. They can just copy and paste it into here, correct?
They can copy and paste. What they're going to have to highlight the text, Kimberly, in the forecast file. So for, let me just find somewhere where I haven't wiped out all the text. I think I might have wiped out all the text in this one. If you had text to write, you would just go into the cell, you'd highlight the text and right-click to copy it. And then go into this box and click in the menu bar up here and then do paste. Like that. That's the only way to get it in. So if there's anybody in the call who has questions about that and needs some hands-on tutelage, just let me know. I'll be happy to walk you through it. And again, months are selectable here, so just select the month that you want to do. It'll take you to the section. Next tab over is a market supply impact tab. Kimberly, I'm going to let you talk about this one because this is a new tab that none of you guys have seen.
Sure, I'm glad to. You'll have to navigate a little as we talk through the lines. Let me start by explaining what the purpose of this is. I think I mentioned during the brand trainings and maybe even on the rollout call when Michael and I did the initial revenue forecast budget rollout training call that we did not take into account new supply as well as we could have last year. So we made a couple mistakes with some budgets, really not maybe either understanding the new supply or at least understanding the impact to our results with new supply. So our fix for this year is to document it on here and actually calculate what that new supply will do. So Michael can go through it line by line here, but basically we're going to ask you to enter the name of the hotel and the month that that hotel opens, and then list out how many available rooms the hotel will have under each month that it will be open.
In 2015.
2015, just for its first 12 months that it's opened, and we'll go back to that in a little bit. We also are going to ask you to document, list out any hotel that was under renovation in 2014 or is planning to be under renovation in 15 with rooms off market, so we can understand that's kind of like supply either coming into or going out of the market. So we have a little section on renovations, and then it will calculate what that percentage of new supply in the market is, or the percentage of supply change within your comp set if we're dealing with a renovation, so that we can mathematically make some assumptions on how it will affect us. If we go back up to the top, so that's the goal of it. If we go back up to the top and we use the Aloft as an example, the Aloft in this market opened in September of 2014. That hotel has 124 rooms. So we want you to enter 124 rooms until the Aloft cycles through 1 year of being open, which is why you'll notice that September of 15 to the end of the year is blank. We only want, in order for this model to work with our calculations, we can only have the number of available rooms for the first 12 months it was open. Since it opened in 14, that's not even on this spreadsheet, but it cycles through by the time we get to September of 15. We do the same thing for the Hyatt Place. That opened in October of 14, so you can see the available room count of 137 is carried through 1 extra month because it doesn't cycle through until October of 15. You're only typing in where the blue font is, so we only want hotel, month it's opening, and a number of rooms available, and the calculations below work for you. And then down here under the renovation impact, we can use the Indigo as an example. We want to put the start date of the room renovation. If it was just lobby or if it was just function space, you do not need to include it here because this is a model to help us understand how it's going to affect our occupancy and the occupancy of the set. So if it was a room renovation, you're putting the month that the rooms part of the renovation started, and you're putting the number of rooms that are affected. In this case, the Indigo at the airport was under renovation is undergoing a renovation starting in May of 2015, and in talking to the hotel, it's going to be a little bit of a staggered renovation with 130 rooms out per day, and dwindling down till it's 20 rooms out in August. The example below at the Holiday Inn Amherst had a renovation in 2014. So you'll notice that's a positive number because it's like this hotel is new supply coming into the market. So if it's going under renovation in 2015, it's like supply leaving the market, hence the minus sign. If it's a renovation that happened in 14, the rooms are coming back on, it's a positive number because it's like it's new supply. And then the last place where you need to put information is under the source of business. The way this works is we want you to take a guess, educated guess, on where this new supply will get its occupancy. And a new hotel only gets its occupancy from 3 places. Either us will be the subject hotel, or somewhere within our competitive set, or outside of our competitive set. So in using January as an example, of all of the new supply coming into the market, which is a total of 490 rooms from these first 4 hotels, Aloft, Hyatt Place, Homewood, Hilton Garden, it's a total of 490, plus the 137 rooms that are coming back online from the Holiday Inn Amherst renovation that was in January 14, we think those hotels are going to get their occupancy. 5% of their occupancy is going to come from us, and 25% is going to come from our competitive set, and the rest of their occupancy, their demand, is going to come from outside the set. Outside the set could either be another hotel that's just not in our star competitive set, or it could be unconstrained demand. The customer could not get into this market typically on a Tuesday, Wednesday because there was not enough supply. Now with this new hotels, they can come in. So it's either unconstrained demand or a hotel outside the competitive set. And then we have a text box here for you to talk through your assumptions. So this really is a pretty big assumption. So you have to talk through and explain why you think that maybe only 5% would come out of our hotel in the first quarter, but it ramps up to, say, 15% by the time you get to the second quarter. That's an example of something that needs to be included in this text box so that we understand your logic for where the new supply gets its demand. And then at the very bottom, we just have a chart here of information. It comes directly from the summary tab of your monthly STAR report to tell us about the 12-month rolling occupancy change in your market, as well as the supply and demand change. And that's for the entire market, as well as the number of hotels and number of rooms that are currently under construction. It says 9 right here, so there are 9 properties under construction in this example. If you don't list 9 hotels at the top, you probably just need to reference why there's a variance. Maybe a couple of these 9 are so far away from your hotel that it has no relevance to you, but it just reference it so we can understand if there's a variance and we don't need to call and ask.
Or if some of those 9 also, Kimberly, might be not scheduled to open in 15, but might actually open in 16.
Yeah, that's fair, and that's a good thing to reference in the assumptions. So this is our attempt to mathematically understand what new supply is going to do to your competitive sets occupancy as well as our hotel. That's the goal. Okay, good.
Okay.
Mike?
Yep. I think we're good there. Okay, the next section is your catering, what would look like your catering history and forecast, so your catering trends. This information all imports straight off of what you're doing in your 2015 revenue forecast file. So anything you put there, the numbers will all come in. Your commentary will come in. We added a little graph to this particular tab, but everything on this is an import. So as long as you're doing your work in your forecast file, you will not have to do anything on this particular tab. Same thing here. This is your StarCast recap. Again, all data imports. This is where your star comp set will show up once you import it. There are 2 pieces of information here that you'll need to fill out on this tab. So the hotels will come in, their number of rooms, the date they opened. We'd like you to put in the date of the last renovation, and then also the scope of the last renovation. Again, you've only got a couple lines here to fill it out. So limited number of space, a really big picture of the overview of what was done, whether it be guest rooms, lobby space, hotel hotel, soft goods. Just a couple of words, phrases, just a big, broad overview general overview of what the renovation was at your comp set hotels and when it occurred. The 7th tab is your StarCast assumptions. These come straight from your 2015 forecast file. They'll import straight across. So if you've written them in your forecast file, no worries, they're all good. They all come in. And then the last piece of this is your StarCast data. Again, this is all calculated for you. There's no text. There's nothing for you really to do on this file. It all pulls in. The one thing that you'll be able to see here that you don't have in your current forecast file is you can go back. You'll be able to look back to 2007. So Kimberly, that I think covers the overview of the file.
Perfect. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box, and if we get any, Michael can read them off and we'll answer your questions. Certainly, if there's questions after this call, you can type them to myself or to Michael directly, and we'll answer you. But let me touch on a couple things here. One, as you can see when Michael went through it, there is very little data entry into this file. It pulls a ton of information in here. You do have to enter the PKF data and the business development. You do have to enter your competitors' renovation and the scope of their work. And on the supply tab, you do have to list out the hotels, what month they're open, and how many available rooms. So there are a few numbers there. But other than that, it's a ton of information with very little input. The purpose is, it's called a budget package. So the purpose is the above property person who's interested in looking at your budget. And that could be a regional or VP within TPG. It could be a bank. It could be an owner. It could be an asset manager. They would never look at an entire strategic plan, but they do need a little information about your market conditions, supply and demand, what your thought process is. So they will have your revenue forecast file, which has the StarCast model in it, a bunch of assumptions, and then the segmentation. They have that in one hand, or they have that tool available to them, and then they also have this package. They're only going to look at the information in this package. They probably will not go elsewhere. So remember your audience. Think about this audience as being probably VP or higher who knows nothing about your hotel. Don't assume that they remember things about citywide calendars. Don't assume they remember things about renovations or market conditions. Just assume it's a VP or higher level reader who doesn't know anything about your hotel, but the file could be passed around to some lenders and financial partners, and it is your voice to sell your budget. So Michael is working on a schedule right now. We promised you that we would do VP reviews like we did last year, where we get you on a phone, and as we're looking at your file, we're sharing our thought process with you, and we will do that again this year. So we'll have a little bit of time to dialogue about your budget, but anyone else who's looking at it besides Eric, Michael, and I, VP and above, will not have a conversation with you about it. So this is your sales tool to explain why your budget should stick the way that you have it, occupancy and ADR. So keep that in mind, I guess, as you're working through this file. Michael is going to show you some slight changes to the budget schedule. And you'll notice that this budget package is not due in time for your regional team to have it. Part of that is because we're on a little bit of a time crunch, but in a way I think that's a little bit beneficial. So as your regional team is reviewing your budget, any questions they have about what you're thinking and what your thought process is and what's going on in your market, if they have that question, then it absolutely should be included in your budget package explanation. They know your hotel more intimately than anyone else above them, obviously, because they're working with a smaller group of hotels. So again, if they have a question, that's going to prompt you to include that into this budget package. So it'll kind of be like a work in progress with your regional team. The local team will actually be doing the writing. I'm not suggesting the regional team writes the stuff, but their conversations with you, their questions with you, their reminders to you about things that are happening in the market will prompt what needs to go into this file. So with that, Michael, let's go through the changes that are on the schedule.
Okay, so changes on the schedule. So if you're a Laura's property, this budget packet and your final revenue model is due on the 14th of September. Again, Laura's properties are an accelerated budget schedule, so those are due on the 14th.
That is a Sunday, and we know it's a Sunday.
Correct. We do know it's a Sunday.
Right.
Because we will be reviewing them first thing Monday morning. So you have until Sunday night. We won't be pulling those until Monday morning. So we will be doing our VP reviews of the Laura's properties on the 15th and I believe 16th, Kimberly, correct?
Correct.
Okay. On the 17th, the budget packets and revenue models are due for all the non-Laura's properties. So this document that we just reviewed and your revenue budget model are due to be completed, reviewed by your regional team, and ready for the VP reviews on the 17th of September. We'll be doing our reviews and then a final review of the final budget packet, so anything that you've updated as part of the process. Final budget packet and revenue revisions are due on September 30th. So those are the big changes to the schedule. One thing that you'll notice on here is there is not a due date for the final version of the strategic plan. We are going to see how far back we can push that particular document due date. Again, we'll be incorporating everything that's in this document. We'll import into it, so you won't be redoing it. But we are going to try to look at a realistic due date for the strategic plan, and that to be completed and due. So we're trying to give you a little more time on that. The original due date on that, I believe, was the 22nd. So we have pushed that back a little bit.
We should probably apologize in advance to whichever hotel draws the short straw and gets the November 30th time slot for their review with Michael, Eric, and I, because not only will we review you that day, but your revisions will also be reviewed that day. I'm sorry. It's a really tight schedule, and in order for us to hold to our commitment that we would review them with you on the phone, we need to be 14-hour days to get the schedule and to get on time. We have some hard dates we can't change with owners that want to look at the budget, so we have to back into those days. That's why this is not flexible. So good luck to you not drawing that short straw. I guess knowing that Michael is making the schedule right now, he might take bribes, presents, lobbying if you want to go earlier in the rotation. But that's going to be a really tight turnaround, and Michael will probably have the schedule out for your particular VP review time slot in the next couple days, so you'll be able to prepare.
Yep.
Okay, Michael, were there any questions in the chat box?
We have a number of questions in the chat box. Some of them are property specific. For those two hotels that are using the for PVA Scottsdale and the two Fort Lauderdale properties, we will be using the adjusted STAR data. You still will import your STAR competitive set because that really doesn't change anything. So you just import your comp sets from your STAR report. But your STAR data itself will reflect the adjusted comp sets, and we'll know that as we're doing the reviews. Let's see. If your hotel has off-market rooms, it will have to have a negative impact. Well, it won't have an impact on your comp set data. So I think from a renovation in 2015 in our own hotels, Kimberly?
Oh, I'm glad someone asked that question. Everybody's first round of this budget will be assuming you do not have a renovation. We're not assuming any of our renovations in here. We have to do that in two steps so that, A, we can speak to what the renovation displacement number is, and B, if the schedule changes, we'll have the original model. So every hotel does a budget assuming no renovation in our hotel.
Okay. I assume this one applies to our tab, Kimberly, in terms of the displacement piece.
Okay, what's the question?
And the question is, should we include closed hotels?
If a hotel was open in 2014 and is closing in 2015, then yes, I think that's probably valuable as a negative number then. And I'd have to say it would have to be a relevant hotel. So, you know, as I can't think of a branded hotel in any of our markets that closed. Michael, maybe who sent the question, and maybe we can give them some guidance offline.
Well, actually, we had two. Actually, came from two different places. One of which would be Scottsdale PV, where the Cottonwood's closed.
Oh, yeah, that's very fair. So for that example, so yeah, it's a major competitor of ours. So we put Cottonwoods, we put the date it closed, and then the available room count under the month, make it a negative number. Good question.
And if it's reopening later in the year, you would then add them back into positive supply in 15, the back half of 15. So it could be both positive and negative.
Yeah, exactly on the same line.
In that particular example. Okay. Let's see. If your comp sets increasing supply, would that go into this section? And I would say, you know, a 1 or 2 room change, Kimberly, I don't think really qualifies as a supply change.
I agree. Because oh, go ahead.
But if they're adding like 50 rooms or something like that, a new wing, you would definitely probably want to put that in as an increase in the comp set.
Yeah, I agree. I think the section at the top where it says a loft and high place and Homewood Suites, you'll see a line that says percent supply increase versus market. That is against the total market. So it is a large number of rooms. We have some numbers hidden, but there are 5 million available rooms in the course of the year in this particular market. To give you an idea, that 2 rooms a day at a hotel is going to have no significance at all. Those lines are hidden. So, but I guess under renovation impact, if there is a pretty significant change, I know in Atlanta we had a hotel one year that changed by about 50 rooms. That needs to be mathematically calculated. So in that example, I probably put it under the renovation impact because you'll be able to put the 50 rooms in each month and have it calculate out. Then you can explain it under the supply and demand text box.
Correct, because that's going to have much more of an impact on your, again, this one is calculated, the supply increase is calculated against your comp set. It's going to have a much bigger impact on your comp set than obviously it will, you know, 50 rooms on a 5 million room market is not going to have much of an impact, but 50 rooms on your comp set that's, you know, 2,000 rooms is going to have much more of a significant impact, so you would list it there.
Michael, we didn't want to scare anyone with this tool because we recognize it's a lot of numbers, so we hid and collapsed a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. Can you just show them where they can uncollapse this? This is all of the math behind what we're asking you to put in here.
Right, and you would only use this if we ask you to use it, but so you can see that it's here. There's a whole list of assumptions that go into this. So including the available rooms in your comp set and what's sold, assumed occupancy indexes relative to the market. So we'll figure out the actual number of rooms sold and then what the impact is to your hotel and to the comp set on a room night basis, and then we actually go down and calculate out what the impact and the ADR occupancy indexes would be. So there is a lot, as Kimberly said, a lot of math behind this.
And again, a hotel that's going to have limited new supply, there's no sense putting all these numbers on here to, it just complicates it. So we will only ask certain hotels to do it. For example, in Buffalo, New York, they're expecting a 4.2% supply increase in the market. That is extremely high compared to the national average. So we're doing a lot of work around Buffalo and what that new supply means. There are not a lot of TPG hotels where there is significant new supply. But we'll work with Buffalo on how to use this. We'll work with each, the other hotels if it's relevant to you. I can touch on this one section. Michael, will you go up to the assumed occupancy index?
Yep. Assumed occupancy, back down at the bottom section, yep.
You are welcome to, there's probably a lot of directors of revenue management who are interested in this, so you're welcome to expand it and look at it and play with it. We're going to close up that box if it's not relevant to your hotel anyway. But the one thing we would ask you to do if you are one of the hotels where we have to really do this math is we have to assume the occupancy index of the new hotel by month for the first 12 months it's opened. So in this example, we say in a loft that opened in September of 2014 doesn't get to market occupancy or comp set occupancy until July of 2015. You can see that our assumption is by July of 2015, they are at 100% occupancy index, fair share. But up until then, there's not enough demand in Buffalo, and that brand is not strong enough to command running fair share out of the gates. No hotel opens at fair share. So the user of this document has to make assumptions based on location, strength of the brand, whether there's any shared ownership or management in a market. Sometimes that helps the hotel ramp up faster. But these are all just assumptions so that it calculates how many rooms sold the hotel will run, the new hotel. If the market in January in Buffalo runs 40% occupancy, and we say in a loft, that's a new build, a loft, only gets to 60% of that, then we know exactly how many rooms the loft is going to run. or is going to fill. And then you saw earlier that we are asking you to figure out where those rooms come from. 5% out of our hotel, 25% out of the remaining comp set, and the rest of the 75% out of somewhere else out of our competitive set. Those are the two pieces of the math that then tell us how does that change our occupancy and how does that change the set's occupancy. So that's just a brief overview of it. If your hotel is a hotel that needs to use this, we will absolutely do some one-on-one training with you, or have the regional do some one-on-one training with you.
Okay. I think that was most of the questions. Kimberly, we're actually about that whole piece. There was one question about renovation. We were asking hotel to do renovation comments on 2 different tabs. Not really is the answer to that question. The supply-demand renovation impact, this is a commentary section. I think really where most of your supply-demand renovation impact assumptions comments would go. That is on the BP4 tab, and stuff that's going to impact you in 2015. What we're just looking for here on the other tab, which was BP6, was just the date and scope of the last renovation in your competitive set hotels. No long, verbose, dialogues about that. Just a simple, these are rooms reno, soft goods reno, redid the lobby, redid the ballroom space, and what date it was. So real simple stuff. Doesn't necessarily need to be, 2014. So really, we're looking at historic, renovations when they took place.
Michael, they may be thinking about BP1, just because the way we labeled the text box. I think it says comp set assumptions including supply. Yeah. So that's just the summary. That you would not go into great detail about the supply changes in your comp set. Just summary comments. The comments that you make on the actual supply tab would be more detailed about your assumptions of why you think that the loft would only take 5% of our occupancy and 25% of the set. So the reasons why belong in this tab. A summary belongs on the first tab.
And then BP6, again, just to list when the last renovation was and what it was. I think that was the last question. Okay, and really from a hotel that's reopening, Kimberly, that will not be in our comp set, would go, where would you want to put that in this?
A hotel that is reopening, meaning they were
Meaning they were totally closed for, say, a year or so.
Okay, if they were closed in 14 and it's new supply, it's going to reopen in 15, then it's new supply, so it belongs under the new supply section.
Okay.
And in the comment box, you can say, so it would say new supply, and maybe it reopens in May of 2015. In the comment boxes, you would have to say, competitor A or hotel A that is opening in May of 2015 was closed from January of 2013 to May of 2015 and will reopen. You can just explain that it's reopening.
Right. Okay. I think that is it for the questions at the moment.
Okay, awesome. I am sure there will be additional questions as the hotels start to enter in information. So again, please don't try to guess. Please don't wait. As soon as you have the question, email it to myself or to Michael. We know this is a new tool. We know it looks complicated on here. Hopefully by explaining the reason why we're doing it and the goal behind it gave you a little bit of an understanding. But please reach out with your questions as soon as you start filling these in.
Right, and we anticipate having this out this evening.
Perfect.
At some point tonight, and this evening runs till midnight, so.
Right.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks so much, Michael.
All right, thank you. Take care.